So today is February 18, 2022, and we're going to be studying friendship. We're studying Nectar Devotion. Sorry, I have a little bit of a hoarse throat. We're going to be studying Nectar Devotion, chapters 41 to 42. And we got some questions this week from people we don't normally get questions from. That was really nice. That was very enlivening. All right, so this is the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Now we want to especially express our appreciation for Bhanu Swami and David Haberman, who translated the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the nectar ocean of our devotional relationship. And this Western Ocean, here Rupa Goswami is looking at the 5 varieties of primary staibas. And today we're looking at Sakhya or friendship. So this is Nectar Devotion, chapters 41 through 42. And Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 3.3, 1 to 136. So the entirety of wave 3. So what is our basic relationship of the friendship rasa? And Rupa Goswami does this for each of the 5 primary staibas. He reminds us that when the rati, the basic feeling of friendship, is nourished by the other bhavas, vibhavas, then it becomes Sakhya ras, or also called Preo Bhakti ras. And we're going through the regular template of discussing the vibhava, Anubhava, Sattvika bhava, Vyabhichari bhava, and the staibhava. So starting with the vibhava for the friendship rasa. And again, vibhava has alambana and udipana, the basic impetus, which is Krishna and his devotees, and udipana are general stimulants. And so we're going to look first at vibhava alambana vishaya, the form of Krishna that stimulates friendship. So this can be either the 2-arm form or the 4-arm form. Now we're going to have a discussion of the Vishayas, so I'd like you to really think about how these different forms of Krishna inspire feelings of friendship. Now the same Vishaya is there in Dasya Rasa, in the servitude rasa. And just like in the Bhagavad Gita 11th chapter, Arjuna asked to see the 4-arm form and then the 2-arm form. So both of these forms are considered human-like. So the form of Krishna that inspires friendship, he has a bodily hue like the Indranila jewel. His smiling is as beautiful as the kunda flower, which I don't know, I haven't seen a kunda flower, so I don't know what that looks like. Indranila jewel is usually an emerald or sapphire. Silk dress is yellow as golden autumn foliage, chest beautified with garlands of flowers, and always playing upon his flute. So here's an example of how the 4-arm form and the 2-arm form both act as vibhava vishaya. When the sons of Pandu saw Krishna in his 4-handed form, holding conch shell, disc club, and lotus flower, they forgot themselves and became merged in the ocean of nectarian happiness. Now, although the 4-arm form of the Lord is an impetus for those in friendship, the devotee who's in friendship doesn't have a 4-arm form. So we don't really see much friendship in Vaikuntha. In Vaikuntha, it's mostly Shantaras and Dasiras. And the friendship is seen with the more intimate forms of the Lord in Dwarka, Mathura, and Vraja. So the devotees there are not 4-handed. So Krishna is inspiring because he's dressing very attractively. This is Sham in Hungary. That he's the best of the strong. So all these inspire the devotees. I want to be his friend. Now again, remember that with the alambana, This is Krishna, who's the best of the strong, whereas Anudipana would be Krishna's strength. Okay, so Krishna's strength can act as an impetus, but when it's Krishna who's the best of the strong, that's Vishaya. The auspicious marks on his body. And again, it's Krishna who has auspicious marks on his body that acts as Alambana Vishaya. The marks on his body would be Udipana. Krishna who knows many languages. Wow. Like in this world, we like being friends with some smart person who's a polyglot. Wow, my friend knows so many languages. Krishna who gives learned teachings and instructions. Krishna who's an uncommon genius in all fields. Krishna who's very quick-witted, right? He had to figure out how do I kill Aghasura and not hurt my friends who are inside of Aghasura? How do I save my friends and kill the demon at the same time? Krishna who's very skillful. And again, as we go through this, I'd like you to think about what inspires our own feelings of love for the Lord and why these would inspire friendship. Krishna who's very merciful. Krishna who's very courageous. Took a lot of courage to fight with all these demons, right? I mean, I would just run away. Krishna who's very learned in arts, including conjugal love. So a lot of his friends are inspired by what a good boyfriend or what a good husband Krishna is. I mean, again, we might feel that in our life. I might think, wow, you know, my friend really takes good care of his wife, or my friend really takes good care of her husband. How Krishna is so intelligent. How he figured out how to save the honor of Draupadi. What an intelligent thing to do. How Krishna is so tolerant and forgiving. And how Krishna is Krishna. Krishna is all attractive. Krishna is very opulent. Can you find Krishna in this picture? He's sitting under a tree. This is a painting of Nandagram, according to the description of Ananda Vrindavan Champu. Krishna who's very jovial. All right. So I'd like to just have a little discussion here, not breakout rooms, but a discussion of which we find, which of these qualities of Krishna we may find inspiring ourselves. Or we could talk about how these qualities would inspire friendship. So either of those. So any thoughts from anyone? I think we had some things in the chat. How is it that seeing Krishna's behavior is a kind of, well, I just answered that. Just like I have friends that when I visit them, I visit the husband and wife, and I see how the husband is taking such nice care of the wife is taking such nice care of the husband, and that inspires me in my friendship with them. I think, wow, you know, he really takes good care of his wife. How wonderful. He really, you know, she really takes good care of her husband. I see the loving relationship between husband and wife, and it inspires me in my friendship with those people. Yes, you could get that picture of Krishna under the tree, and we would even arrange for you to get a high quality copy that you could have printed as a G-clay. But yes, we would want a donation for that. Daiva Simha Prabhu.
Hi Krishna, I like this quality inspires of Krishna, that Krishna can talk in many languages. So this was one of my prayers also sometimes back, that Krishna can talk to like different animals in different languages, cows in their language, Radharani can talk to deer in their language, so they can talk to me in my language. It was something like I was going through the self-beating sort of system, that some devotees were saying that it's because you are intelligent, so you cannot surrender. So I was wondering, I cannot surrender at any time in my life. So because if I try surrendering, then something else comes in. So then my intellect comes in between. So then I prayed this prayer to Krishna. So it inspired me.
That he can talk to you in your own language.
Yeah.
What is your own language?
Like we had to surrender without getting cheated. Because sometimes when we surrender, like then I felt cheated with this with at some places. Okay.
Yes, all of us.
So how to surrender? Where to surrender where I don't get cheated. Like yeah.
Very nice. And what is your own language?
And that I prayed to Krishna that you understand my language best. But
He would understand. Okay, I won't ask.
he will understand that language best in which I can understand. So kindly communicate to me what you want to communicate.
Very nice, very nice. And Prabhupada, thank you. And Prabhupada Priya asked whether or not the four-arm form would inspire reverence more than friendship. No, not always. There are friends who are like, wow, look at my cool friend. I mean, some of the friends are more reverential than some other friends. I mean, and again, that's true even for us, that we have some friends for whom we feel more reverence and some friends for whom we feel less. There may be some mixture of a little bit of reverence. But just, well, I have such a cool friend who's riding around on Garuda. Yes, Maharaj. Bhakti Dear Damodar Maharaj.
Generally, people don't like poor people. Poor people are not so wonderful. They're not so admired. So Krishna being opulent can stimulate someone's friend. My friend is so opulent. So
yes.
Yeah. I love to have Krishna as a friend because he's so opulent. He has the opulence of the whole world.
Wow. Yes, that is actually very true. Yeah. Thank you. Anybody else? Kamalini.
Krishna is courageous. So it gives me faith that he's the one worth taking shelter of. I know, just like that, that's a great example of Aghasura, how he can consider all of the different situations and everything. And so who else can be our protector because he is so courageous and strong.
So I've got a great friend who's so courageous. I can go anywhere with my friend because he'll take care of me. If there's something scary. And that's exactly how the Cowherd boys thought when they went into Aghasura. They're like, hey, maybe he's a demon, but we got a great friend and he'll take care of us. He's courageous. Yeah. Okay, any other thought? Prabhupada Priya.
I was also thinking courageous, and that, as a friend, if you have a friend who's very courageous, that means you're always going to be up for an adventure. Like he's going to see something risky and he's going to be like, let's do it. And then you just go with him, because you totally trust that because of all the other qualities, that he's strong, that he's quick-witted, that if there is a problem, he's going to figure it out and this is going to be fun.
Wow, actually, it's nice if we see our whole life like that, isn't it? Yeah. Thank you. And in fact, there is a kind of friendship that's there in the 9 processes of devotion as for sadhakas. In other words, that even people who are not experiencing rasa or rati, they see that God is my supreme friend, that because he's courageous, because he's adventurous, therefore he's my supreme friend. And Krishna says this, of course, in the end of the 5th chapter, right? That's how we become peaceful, is by seeing that he who's the supreme controller, right? And he who's the supreme enjoyer is my friend. Yes. Okay, Mahalakshmi.
Yes. Well, of course, now we are looking at fraternal relationship. So would it be the same for each relationship if someone would see the forearm of Narayan, but the gopis didn't? The gopis didn't feel, I don't know. The gopis reacted in a very different way when they saw Narayan with 4 hands.
But we're not talking about the gopis.
No, yeah, but my question,
we're talking about friends. We're not talking about Madhurya.
we're talking about friends. But my question is, would be the same as those in friendship, like the Pandavas?
Well, this is why Rupa Goswami explains these different things for each rasa. If they were all exactly the same, then he wouldn't change here in the Western Ocean, we have, you know, a description for the neutral rasa, description for the servitude, description for servitude who are younger family members, description for friendship, description for parental, description for conjugal. And if they were all exactly the same, why make all these divisions? Obviously, they're different. Now, there are some devotees in conjugal rasa who are attracted to Krishna and with four hands, and Krishna's queens in Dwarka, sometimes Krishna shows four hands. Like when Krishna picks up Rukmini when she faints, he pulls out his other two hands. So those in conjugal rasa who are attracted to Krishna as his queens, they may feel as a vibhava, the four hands. And Rukmini saying here, he speaks in double meanings and accomplishes many things at once. Yes. Yes, he's very intelligent. He's very clever. So that's definitely a stimulus. Yes, Vinata.
Hare Krishna. I was thinking how he dresses nicely and he's all attractive. Once I've heard that we are eating for ourselves and dressing for others. Like when he dresses nicely, mostly others can see him and enjoy in his nice appearance. So it looks like a very unselfish, just kind of habit or whatever activity. And it creates, as gopis say, okay, but probably also Sakha's festival for the eyes. So all the needs for aestheticism, for beauty are satisfied in his association.
Yes, my friend really knows how to dress sharply. I mean, so I have some friends who don't know how to dress nicely, and sometimes it's a little awkward. And in fact, it happened to me the other day. I was with one of my friends and who doesn't dress nicely, and it was a little awkward. And it was like, wow, she like doesn't quite know how to put on a sari properly. She looks, you know. So when we have a friend who's really sharp, I'm like, wow, what a cool friend I have. All right. Thank you very much. And we're going to go on. Okay, now we're going to be talking about the Ashraea. And again, just to emphasize, these are the other people in a similar rasa who inspire the devotees in that rasa. So what's inspiring to the devotees in that rasa is Krishna. And what's also inspiring the devotees in that rasa are the other devotees who are inspired to see Krishna as friends. So that's why there's always this discussion of the devotees who have this mood, because they are inspiring. And we had a question about what's the relationship between the friends. So again, the relationship between the friends are also friends with each other. And they're all inspiring each other in their friendship for the Lord. The servants inspire each other in their service for the Lord. Those in parental rasa inspire each other in their feelings of being in a parental mood. Those who are Krishna's girlfriends or wives inspire each other in their conjugal mood. Those who are in neutrality inspire each other in their neutrality. So Krishna's friends inspire each other in their friendship for Krishna. And then of course, they also have friendship between themselves. This is true across the board. The servants are friends with the other servants. Gopis are friends with other gopis, right? Mother Yasoda has her friends. Nanda Maharaj has his friends and so forth. All right. So I offer my respects to the friends of Krishna who serve him with deep trust, without restriction, without fear, while thinking that he is their equal. So this is the essence of the Ashraea of Sakhya Bhav, and that they see Krishna as their equal. They don't have restriction. And there are two main categories of friends: city friends and country friends. So in other words, in Dwarka and Mathura and in Vrindavan. So Krishna's friends in the city, the primary friends in the city are the five Pandavas, Draupadi. Now, In Vanaswami's translation, he says Sri Dhamma Brahmana instead of Sudhamma Brahmana. So I'm not really sure if it is a Sri Dhamma Brahmana. Someone had a question, and I don't know who that is. And then we also had this description of how the Pandavas greeted Krishna, that Yudhisthira smelled Krishna's head, and we had a question about smelling of the head. So that's naturally, if you're a parent, you're likely to be taller than your child. And therefore, when you hug your child, you are likely to have your head, your face above their hair. And so you're likely to smell their head. And this is true, of course, if you're holding a baby, but it's also true if you're dealing with a child. And so it's a sign of parental love and parental blessings. We also had a question here about embracing, that Krishna embraced particularly Bhima and Arjuna. And the question was, did he also embrace Draupadi? I don't know. There's no, it's not clear whether or not he would also embrace Draupadi. I do find it significant that generally Krishna's friends are described as male. In fact, all the descriptions in Vraja are of male friends. There might be female friends in Vraja, but I don't know of any such description. And the only description I know of a female friend in the city is Draupadi. But of course, there's unlimited friends. So Krishna may also have other friends who are ladies like that. So Vinita is asking, is relationship between friends Sakhya Rasa? Krishna is the object. So all of these relationships also exist between jivas. In fact, the whole treatise of Bharat Muni was describing these relationships in their mundane form. So these also exist between jivas. In the case of the jiva, then the other jiva is the Vishaya. And certainly there's a very nice description in where Queen Kunti is asking to cut off the sneha pasu, to cut off the rope of affection to her family members and have her love for Krishna just flow to him without, like the Ganges, without going anyplace else. And Srila Prabhupada says there that her family members are all devotees. So why is it she doesn't want to love them? And Prabhupada says, seeing in the darkness is not seeing, but seeing in the light is seeing. So if our relationships are based on bodily things and on material things, then they're perverted ras. But if they're, as Prabhupada says, soul to soul via the super soul, then they're real. So they're real. Madhya Yasoda and Nanda Maharaj, they're husband and wife. They have a relationship of husband and wife, as do, all the other older gopas and gopis. They have relationships of husband and wife. It's not that that's only happening with Krishna. And they have friends and they have servants. But everything is related to Krishna. So it's not that we're only having a relationship with Krishna. If we think about the song Sri Rupa Manjari Bhava, Sri Rupa Manjari Pada, the relationship with Rupa Manjari. Yes, all these elements of relationships, they exist whenever there's relationships. They exist again in a perverted form in all of our material relationships. In all of them. Yes. Excellent question. All right, so as usual, Rupa Goswami likes to give just some key examples. So he's giving this example of Arjuna, who's considered the best among the city friends. So what does he look like? He's got his Gandiva bow in his hand. He has thighs like elephants' trunks. He has the complexion of a blue lotus, although generally Srila Prabhupada had the artist paint him with some more of a light tan color. Reddish eyes, and he mounted the jewel-studded chariot with Krishna holder of the chakra. Imagine a jewel-studded chariot. And Arjuna's friendship. He would lie down with his head on Krishna's lap. He joked with Krishna in great relaxation, enjoying Krishna's company. All right, so in the country, so Krishna's friends in the country, they suffer if they don't see Krishna even for a moment. They're always playing with him, and their very life depends on him. What are their forms? They're around the same age as Krishna. They have similar qualities, activities, clothing, and beauty. They have flutes, horns, and instruments made out of leaves. Their complexions can be dark blue, gold, crystal, and ruby, and other colors also. This is not limited. And what kind of friendship do they have? They say, oh, Krishna, your arm's getting very tired. Why don't you transfer the hill to another boy, or at least put in your right hand so we can massage your left hand? And Rupa quotes Bhagavatam 10, 12, 11, astonishment that Krishna's friends play with him as equals. Now, also it's mentioned Krishna's feelings for his friends. That he once said to Balaram, my dear brother, when my companions were being devoured by the Aghasura, hot tears poured down from my eyes. And as they were washing my cheeks, my dear older brother, for at least one moment, I completely forgot myself. So this is also how much Krishna loves his friends. So there's 4 main categories of friends in Gokula. So some friends who are a little older, called Surit, or well-wisher, Prabhupada calls them. So they have a little mix of parental rasa because they're a little older. Then the Sakhas, which Prabhupada calls just the friends, they're a little younger. So they have a little mix of dasya, they have a little mix of servitude. Then 2 types of friends of the same age. The Priya Sakhas, which Prabhupada calls confidential, that just have friendship. And the Priya Narma Sakhas, which Prabhupada calls intimate. They're also the same age, but they're also involved in Krishna's more private business. So the older ones feel a little protective. The younger ones more like to serve. And then there's some that are intimate or most intimate. And Rupa Goswami gives some lists like Mandali Baldra and Balabhadra as well-wishers, friends like Devaprastha, those are the younger ones, confidential friends like Sridhama and Sudama, and then intimate friends such as Subal and Ujjwala. So these are the chief personalities in each of these categories that act as impetus for those in friendship. All right, he's going to look at each of them in turn. So Surit, this is the older friends, friendship with a tinge of parental. So they saw a big cloud on Govardhan Hill and they said, oh, that's Aristasura. We have to protect Krishna. Oh no, it's just a cloud. Don't worry. Krishna's okay. And Rupa gives the form of Mandali Bhadra, who's one of the chief of the older friends. He has pink cloth. He has a club or stick of many colors. He wears a peacock feather and he has a shining complexion as a bee. Is that yellow or black? So different ways of understanding that. Interesting that sometimes devotees think that only Krishna wears a peacock feather, that, the demarcation that we know it's God is he has a peacock feather, but a lot of his friends wear peacock feathers. Okay, what kind of friendship does Mandali Bhadra have? So again, he's older, wants to take care of him. So after Krishna's been herding the cows all day and he's tired, Mandali Bhadra wants to massage him. And of course, the main friend who's older is Krishna's brother Balaram. And Balaram's friendship, he says, it's my birthday. I have to stay home today to make sure Krishna doesn't go to Kali's lake, which of course Krishna did anyway. And Balaram's form, where's one dangling earring? I couldn't find any picture of Balaram where the artist didn't put 2 earrings on. Lotus is decorating his ears and covered with bees. Musk tilak, I couldn't find that either. Musk is dark. Gunja berry necklace, complexion as white as an autumn cloud, cloth is blue, voice is deep, and arms are hanging to his knees. All right, going to the younger friends, the Sakhas. And what kind of friendship do they have? They say, our friend is very tired. Vishal, fan him with a lotus leaf. Varutapa, tidy up his hair. Rishabha, massage his limbs without unnecessary talk. So here we can see that there's a little of servitude, and an example of this younger friend is Devaprastha, who's very strong, a ready scholar, very expert in playing ball, likes to wear white or yellow, has a red complexion, ties his hair into a bunch with a rope. Hopefully it's a pretty rope. Whenever there's a fight between Krishna and the demons, Devaprastha is the first to help, and he fights just like an elephant. And his friendship, when Krishna rested in a mountain cave, Devaprastha massaged his feet. Then we go to the friends of the same age. So they engage in hand-to-hand combat with Krishna, stick fighting and other sports, joking, using puns in a choked voice, in ecstasy, embracing Krishna with arms full of goosebumps, and sneaking up behind Krishna to cover his eyes. And Sridhama is one of the chief of these friends. He wears yellow greenish cloth. He has a dark blue complexion. He holds a horn in his hand, and he wears a copper-colored turban and a flower garland. So an example of this friendship, as again, we talked about how the Cowherd boys can't bear to be away for even a moment. So when Krishna goes off with the gopis, he leaves the Cowherd boys, and Sridhama is like, you're really cruel. How could you leave us at the bank of the Jamuna? Now that you're back, give us a strong embrace. And when you're gone, we're in havoc. The cows are in havoc. Actually, Sridhama said the whole village, and the way Bhanu Swami translated it was the cow sheds. So we had a question, do the cow sheds feel sad? So there's actually, everything is alive in the spiritual world. And so the whole village and all of the so-called objects, which are all alive and conscious, they're also feeling this separation when Krishna goes. All right. So we have now the Priya Narmasakas. The Priya Narmasakas are of the same age, but they're very, very close friends. Just like we have some close friends that we really confide in, right? So they're superior to the Surit Sakas and Priya Sakas. They have a very special bhava, very special love for Krishna, and they engage in the most confidential pastimes. And so this is examples. It's not that these are the only Cowherd boys that do this. We had a question, why only Subal? So there's others. Rupa Goswami is just giving some examples. There's unlimited numbers of these friends. Subal whispering information about Radha in Krishna's ear. Ujjwala handing Shaima's love letter to the lotus hand of Krishna in a solitary place. Chatura offering betel nut given by Pali, that's a gopi, into Krishna's mouth. Kokila putting a garden senpai tada, that's another gopi, over Krishna's head. So these Priya Narmasakas are involved with Krishna's romantic affairs, which the other Cowherd boys basically are not. So they're sending messages back and forth and paraphernalia back and forth and acting as like matchmakers. And Subala, who's the chief of the Priya Narmasakas, Subala Ujjwala. So Subala is described, a complexion that conquers gold, a pearl necklace with a green cloth. Eyes are like blue lotuses, and he gives very intelligent and moral instruction. And the talks between Krishna and Subal were so confidential that nobody else knew what they were talking about. And then the other chief of the Priya Narmasakas is Ujjwala. It's interesting, in the writings of the Acharyas, we don't hear much about Ujjwala, but he's the other chief of the Priya Narmasakas. He has a cloth of orange color, restless eyes, decorated with flowers and pearls, and his bodily hue is almost like Krishna. And his friendship is that when he goes to the young girls, his entreaties are so powerful that the gopis give up their shyness and they say, yes, okay, we'll meet with Krishna. And he loves to joke. He says, Krishna, you're like an ocean, and the rivers of the young girls cannot help but flow to you. So especially these Priya Narmasakas are definitely enlivened by Krishna's expertise in conjugal affairs. So other ways we can have categories of friends is how they achieve perfection. Krishna has friends, and this again is in the category of Ashraea. So why is Rupa Goswami giving this here? He's giving this always in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. This is for us. So if someone practicing Krishna consciousness starts to awaken to Sakhya Bhav, starts to get some rati for Krishna as their friend, then they're going to be inspired by Krishna in this way as the Vishaya, and they're going to be inspired and as the Ashraea by the different friends. So which of Krishna's different friends will be inspiring them? So the Nityasiddhas, like the ones we talked about, right? Ujjwala and Subal and Sridham and Arjuna and Draupadi. And then it's interesting that Rupa Goswami doesn't just say Nityasiddha and Sadhanasiddha. He also says those who were previously demigods. So we know when Krishna appears in this world, he asked the demigods also to appear and help him with his pastimes. And some of these demigods are sadhanasiddhas. It's a particular subcategory of sadhanasiddhas who become Krishna's friends. And that's inspiring to those who want to be Krishna's friends. And then Rupa Goswami describes the different natures. So this can be true of all of the categories, the city friends, the village friends, the older friends, the younger friends, the same age friends. They have different personalities. And of course, each cowherd boy, each friend has their different individual personalities, but Rupa Goswami is looking at 6 main categories. And again, there's as many personalities as there are friends. So one category is some who are steady and acting like advisors and they worship Krishna. Some who have a fickle nature and make Krishna laugh in the matter of jests. Some who have a meek nature and make him happy by their serious behavior. Some astonish him by their crooked behavior. Some are confident and like to argue with him, and some please him with truthful, pleasing words. So we had a question about examples of these, and I don't know of any. There is a book, which I have not read, on the Asta Kalila Lila of the Cowherd Boys. There may be more information in there about different friends and their particular nature. There's also maybe some more information in the Radha Krishna Ganadesh Deepika, where the different associates are described. So, but I've read that book a couple times, but I don't remember the specific details. Of course, we know, for example, with the 5 Pandavas, the differences in their personality, right? So we have some examples there. All right, we're going to have 10 minutes for a breakout group and to discuss which of these categories of friends we find most inspiring in our own service. So we're going to have 10 minutes to discuss which of these categories of friends we find most inspiring in our service. And I don't understand, Binata, your question. Which of these are simple category? I don't understand what a simple category is. All right, if we can set up the breakout rooms, please, for 10 minutes. So now we're going to look at the last part of Vibhava. We're going to look at the Udipana. What are the general stimulants for friendship with Krishna? And I'd like you to take some notes on how these would inspire friendship. So we have different categories. Krishna's age, of course, which you've all noticed that's been an Udipana previously, as described with servitude. His beauty, his bugle. And again, Krishna, who is beautiful, is the Vishaya, and Krishna's beauty is an Udipana. His flute, his conch shell, his pleasing attitude, his joking, his heroism, his intimate devotees who are not in Sakhya Rasa. So as the Ashraea, that would be the devotees in the same mood. And as Udipana, those are other devotees. And then Krishna pretending to be a royal prince, or even Krishna pretending to be God. That's pretty funny. So Krishna's age, and we have Kumara, Puganda, and Kaishora. And again, as we went through before, that Krishna's Kaishora is manifest in Gokula, Mathura, and Dwarka, and Puganda and Kumara only in Gokula. And the friends are mostly associated, at least the country friends, are mostly associated with Krishna in his Puganda age, which can be divided into 3 parts. I should do this slide differently. Should fix that. So 6 to 7, 8 to 9, and 10. So first we're going to look at Kumara. So this is when Krishna's under the age of 6. So he had, someone asked me if we know how tall Krishna is in each of these ages. I haven't seen anything to indicate that. So if you find that, you can share it. He had his flute under his arm, his bugle and belt in his belt. Oh, that's also wrong. Goodness, so many mistakes here that I have to fix. You can't have your belt in your belt. In his left hand, he held rice paste with yogurt, and in his fingers was pilu fruit. There's a wonderful pastime about pilu fruit in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Sitting among his friends, it was appear that he was the whirl of a lotus flowers. That's from 10, 13, 11. Mm. So which of these categories was for these simple friends? Oh. All right. So from 6 to 7 years, his lips are red, his waist is thin, he has 3 lines on his throat like a conch. And how does he dress? Varieties of flower ornaments, markings on his bodies of minerals, yellow silk cloth. What does he do between 6 and 7? Here he's herding the calves in all the forests, learning hand-to-hand combat, playing games and dancing. I think he's herding the cows at this point. I should check on that. He herds the calves before Paganta. Playing games and dancing. And Paganta 8 to 9 years, his form, the tip of his nose becomes raised. His cheeks become round. Sides and other bodily parts become graceful with 3 folds of skin. He gets sharp nails. And how does he dress from 8 to 9? A turban tied with silk cords shining like lightning. A black staff 4.5 feet long with a golden tip. So we get some idea of how tall he is from the staff here, I suppose. And what does he do between 8 and 9 years old? He likes to play in the Bandira forest. That's where the banyan trees are. Likes to climb on Govardhan. And at 10 years, he has very long hair going to his waist or his hips. And the locks of hair are falling playfully. He has very strong shoulders, tilak marks on his face. And how is he dressed? Your tilted turban, the play lotus in your hand, the golden tilak on your forehead, and the dot of musk are making me, courageous Subal, completely dizzy. How much more this will affect the naturally soft gopis? Again, these are the udipanas. These are the stimulants for friendship. And what are his activities? At 10 years old, wordplay, intimate conversations with the Narmasakas, praising the forms of the young girls of Gokula in front of his friends. And then Kaishora. So Kaishora is especially attractive to those in conjugal love, but how Kaishora can be a stimulus for the friends. With 3 prominent folds clothed in attractive lightning. The fragrance of blossoming forest flowers, the radiance of the black tumultuary, the cloud in the form of Damodar quenches the devotee's eyes, which are like Chatika birds seeking rain. Sri Dhamma remains standing like a tree whose branches are erupting with pleasing bristles. Sarupa Goswami notes that Krishna generally appears to all his friends, especially the country friends, only as an adolescent. So Yovana has not been described here at all. And we had a question is, well, aren't there friends who are attracted to Yovana? And the answer would be certainly, especially in the cities. The city friends would be attracted to Krishna's Yovana form, but Rupa has concentrated here on these Udipanas for the country friends. So Krishna's beauty is an Udipana, and his friends say to him, "You're so beautiful, you don't need all these ornaments. Your beauty is attractive enough." And Krishna's horn, right? As soon as Krishna blows his buffalo horn, then the friends wake up. They sleep on the roof in the summertime. And so their horn wakes them up and stimulates their friendship. We have, how is the weather in Vraja or Dwarka? So we have some description, of course, of the seasons, the 6 seasons, which are very similar to the 6 seasons in India today. And as far as in the spiritual world, there's 6 seasonal forests, and then there's a forest with all of the seasons together. And I'm not sure what it's like in Mathura and Dwarka. Krishna's flute acts as an impetus. My dear cowherd friends, the sound of Krishna's flute from Govardhan Hill says we need not go search for him at the Yamuna. And his conch shell. So the Pandavas had impetus and friendship by hearing his conch shell. They had this sattva that they became white like Lord Shiva, feeling great joy hearing the conch. And playfulness. So when Krishna put on Radharani's clothing and appeared with bright pink cloth, limbs smeared with kumkum, hair bound up beautifully, and earrings, Subala was astonished. All right. So we can have not a breakout room, but a general discussion for just a few minutes before we take a break. Anybody who would like to discuss any of the Udipanas for Sakhya Bhav? And I can look back and see if I can find that answer for the simple. I think the pleasing, truthful words are the simple ones. I think so. Might have to go back to Bhakti or Samrita Sindhu to figure that. Yes, Kamalini.
It's stated also that Krishna in his Pauganda age, is that it? He has a braid, although we don't ever see pictures or deities, do we, with Krishna with a long braid? But I guess
Sometimes we've seen
variety.
like a braid wrapped around a top knot or something, but no, I haven't seen Krishna with just a long braid. In fact, one thing I was thinking of with this is, I think it was Jadurani who painted a picture of young Krishna with hair down to his waist, and Prabhupada didn't like it so much. He said, don't give him such long hair. But the description is specifically that Krishna's hair down to his waist or to his hips at that age. No. Anybody else have anything about the Udipanas? Prabhupada Priya?
When it says that he praises the beauty of the gopis in front of his friends, would that just be the Priya Narmasakas or any of them?
That's a good question. It seems it would be primarily the Priya Narmasakas. And that's, I mean, in this world, that's very common behavior among men who are friends. Yes.
And I was wondering, because you were talking about his ages, like 6 to 10 was Poganda, but then we hear about how Krishna left Vrindavan when he was, I think, 10. So it doesn't seem to
11.
give much. Oh, 11. So then Kaishora was only 1 year in Vrindavan.
1 year in Vrindavan. Of course, sometimes it says Krishna left at 16. So sometimes it says 11 and sometimes 16.
And all the pastimes, well, most of the pastimes with the gopis take place during the Kaishora age, right?
Exactly. Yes. Yes, the conjugal are particularly attracted to the Kaishora.
So that was a relatively short time.
Yes.
Although I guess Krishna expanded the time, day of Brahma.
Well, he does
one
that
night.
too. He makes the night last as long as Lord Brahma. Oh, look at what Mini says about praising the gopis. He says he can praise the gopis in one meeting understood by the Priya Narmasakas in a double entendre, and the other sakas would understand something unrelated to the gopis from what he said. Oh, very nice. Yes. Very nice. How the Krishna ages quicker than ordinary people. Yes, some of our acharyas explain like that also. Kamalini, you had another question?
Yeah, so also, isn't it like about the age leaving almost at 11 and then at 16, it's stated that Krishna is precocious and he's always seems like his age plus half. So like when he's 1, he's like a 2.5-year-old. So when he is 11, he's like a 16-year-old. So could it be something like that, perhaps?
It certainly could be. Yes, that is another way of explaining it and understanding it. Yes, that our acharyas give. Yes, Mahalakshmi.
How is that devotees who were devas come to the point of reaching the Priya Narmasakas?
Why not?
Because
What would be the reason why not? If a human can do it, why
Because
can't a demigod do it?
what?
If a human can do it, why can't a demigod do it?
Demigods, we hear that generally they pray to come to this world for that, to reach this, to transcend, because in the heavenly planets there is so much sense enjoyment.
Yes. So you just answered your own question.
So there is a progression. Then first they come here and then they reach, but they were
That can be. I mean, there's the instruction given that those who are sadhakas first get trained on the planet where Krishna is having his pastimes. But one can also go directly to the spiritual world from the heavenly planets. And as we read in Brihad Bhagavatamrita, the Lord has pastimes on all different planets. So that's also possible. All right, we're going to take a 10-minute break. Please take a real break, get up, move around, and we'll see you back in 10 minutes. So we're going to they've frozen. Everything is frozen. Okay. I didn't know whose end that was on, if that was on my end or right. Okay, so we're going to go on to the Anubhava of the friendship Rasa. And of course, Anubhava is voluntary expressions of love, and they're Shita and Shepana. And there's some Anubhava common to all types of friendship. And we discussed this a little bit before when we were talking about the impetus of Krishna as the Vishaya, that the friends are very daring and they'll risk any difficulty, confident that Krishna will help them to be victorious in all adventures. So this is true for all the different kinds of country friends and all the different kinds of city friends. And then there are Anubhavas common to all of the country friends. Hand-to-hand combat, playing ball and dice, riding on each other's shoulders, stick fighting, sleeping and sitting with Krishna, telling jokes, playing in the water, and singing and dancing with Krishna. So Rupa Goswami gives an example of hand-to-hand combat. Krishna, thinking that you are victorious with arms itching for battle, you wander amongst your friends, praising your prowess. But tell me, seeing the action of my thick arms, having given up your eagerness to fight, can you remain standing there with weak limbs? Okay, and Anubhavas of the older age friends, the Surit, those who have friendship with a little parental, they like to sit together and advise one another what to do. They induce one another to be engaged in welfare work, and they are eager to perform all types of service. And so you can see this is not just with Krishna, but with each other, how they're manifesting their friendship. And Anubhava of the Sakhas, who are the younger age, who have friendship mixed with some servitude. They offer betel nuts to one another. They decorate each other's faces with tilak. They smear pulp of chandan on one another's bodies. And for the sake of amusement, they decorate their faces in strange ways. So again, this is service they're doing for Krishna and also what they're doing with each other. All right, then the same age friends that are confidential, they like to defeat Krishna in battle. Isn't that funny? I mean, how many religionists can understand something like that? Pulling on Krishna's cloth, stealing flowers and other things from his hand. It's just the typical behavior in this world of little boys, huh? Being decorated by Krishna and hand-to-hand combat. Okay, then we have the Priya Narmasakas, the same age who are intimate, they're Anubhavas, carrying messages among the young women of Vraja, encouraging the gopis' love for Krishna, taking Krishna's side when the gopis are present and Krishna is not. siding with the chief gopis when Krishna is present, but the gopis are not. That's really funny. Arguing intensely by whispering in Jan's ears. And then there are some Anubhavas that are shared by the Vraja friends and the servants. They decorate Krishna with forest flowers and jewel ornaments, singing and dancing in front of Krishna, so entertaining Krishna, caring for the cows, massaging his body, and fanning him. The sattva kebabs, again, sattva kebabs is when the heart melts with sattva, not sattva gun. And this changes the elements of the body and produces these 8 involuntary symptoms. So a few examples of being stunned. When Krishna came out of the Yamuna after chastising Kaliya, Sri Dhamma wanted to embrace him, but he couldn't raise his arms. He was just stunned. And Krishna's flute roared like a thundercloud under the Svati constellation. The perspiration on Sri Dhamma's body looked like pearls. Actually, I had a wonderful devotee friend who since left her body. And she was telling me how one time she was chanting japa in the temple room. And she was thinking, why is it that Krishna's perspiration is beautiful? And then she actually saw Krishna decorated with perspiration that looked like pearls. Very special devotee. Corpulation, example. Radharani says, "O Subala, you are fortunate because in the presence of the elders, you embrace Krishna freely, spreading out your arms with hair standing on end." An example of trembling, change of color, choking of the voice, and fainting. When Krishna entered into Kaliya's lake, the friends were afflicted with trembling. They lost their color. For a while, they couldn't speak properly. They fell on the ground. They became unconscious. This one for tears, I think, is just so totally cool. Seeing the forest fire, Krishna's friends, not considering their own bodies, surrounded Krishna on all sides, appearing to extinguish the fire with the tears from their eyes. Wow. So Vyavichari bhavs are the transitory emotions. Rupa has listed 33, right? And he says that all of these Vyavichari bhavs are present in friendship, except for wrath, apprehension, and laziness. And friendship and separation, there's no Vyavichari bhavs of intoxication, happiness, arrogance, sleep, and contentment, but the other ones are there. And in friendship and meeting, there's no Vyavichari bhavs of death-like symptoms, fatigue, sickness, forgetfulness, or humbleness. The Cowherd boys, when they're with Krishna, they're not very humble. They're always bragging. Does Madhu Mangal have laziness? Yeah, it appears that he does, doesn't he? Sometimes it seems that he has laziness, but I guess not. I guess he's actually always has some enthusiasm. Okay, an example of joy. When Krishna returned to his friends after driving out Kaliya, they lost control of their bodies in great joy. They could not stand on their feet and their words became incoherent. All right, so we have a little bit of time for questions on the Anubhava, Sattvika bhavs, and the Vyavichari bhavs. If anybody has any questions. Yes, Vinata.
It's not exactly on the Anubhavas, but when Madhu Mangal was mentioned, in which category does he of these friends does he fit in?
Oh, definitely Priyanamrasaka.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
Madhu Mangal is very involved with Krishna's pastimes with the gopis. Very, very much so.
He's
with
also
messages.
Is he also there in Nava Vrindavana?
I don't know. Maybe look it up in Lalita Madhava and let us know. Anybody know the answer to that? Is Madhava Mangal there? Kamalini, do you know the answer to that?
Yes, he's there. I don't know if it's a permanent thing, but he's certainly there for the pastime of when Rukmini Devi discovers that Krishna has somebody else in Navavrindavan.
Yes, you're right. Now that you say that, I'm remembering that. Yes, that is true. Thank you for asking that, Vinita. Thank you, Kamalini. Anybody else on the Anubhava Satvika Bhavas, Vyabhichari Bhavas?
I think it's cool how the Cowherd boys stand up for whoever's not there. You know, like if the gopis are not there, then they'll take the side of the gopis. If Krishna's not there, they'll take the side of Krishna.
Yeah,
So
that was,
make sure everybody's represented.
That was very charming. Yes. Why does Balaram and Nityananda only wear an earring in one ear? Does anybody know the answer to that question? Anybody have any idea? I've wondered that for a long time.
I don't know the answer, but I know who knows it, because I've heard it and forgot it from Madhavananda Prabhu.
Oh, so why don't you ask him? If you'd be willing to ask him and let us know next week.
I have no contact with him. I tried to write him to the messenger, but he didn't respond. So I have no. I just heard it on the lecture from him.
Then write me a note and remind me to ask him. Prabhu.
Actually, Madhavananda Prabhu is here in Mayapur, so at tomorrow's this class I can ask him.
Oh, wonderful! Please do that. That will be much more efficient.
Yeah,
yes.
And regarding Nityananda, I know that why he wears one earring in only one ear. It's some pastime which is mentioned. But regarding Balram, I don't know. I know regarding Nityananda.
All right. Okay, and Rukmini has given us an example, and actually this is a fact when previously, I think that's from the Southern Ocean, Rukmini. When Rupa Goswami was describing laziness, he gave the example of Subal, who had been tired from a mock battle. So I don't know why he's saying that it's not here in this rasa when it appears to be here. And there's a number of instances like that. Well, I'll run across things with Vyabhichari Bhavas and I'll think, how is that not there? Lakshmi Priti.
Hare Krishna Mataji. In a lecture, I heard that why Balaram wears only one earring. It's like the speaker was telling Balaram, he represents Guru Tattva. And in following that line, it's like they have to strictly follow the rules for like being a celibate or to avoid sense gratification. And wearing one earring, it gives one the energy to restrain oneself from the sense gratification. So this is what I heard in the lecture.
Interesting. I wonder what the pramana is for that. I know that Maharaj Prataparudra talked about becoming a mendicant and just wearing one earring. But anyway, if you ask Madhavananda, if Devasimha asks Madhavananda, then we'll see if we can get something with a pramana. All right, so let's go on. Okay, we're going to look at the Staibab, and please take notes. We are going to have a breakout room to discuss the Staibab, whatever you find most interesting. So please take notes as we're going through this. All right. Okay, so the essential definition of this Staibab is when there's a rati based on mutual trust between two friends as equals without reverence. So that is the essential definition of the rati or the Staibab, the essential feeling. Remember the Staibab, that essential feeling, oh, this is my friend. How do we define that? Interesting, how do we define friendship? So this is the Rupa Goswami is giving, based on Bhartmuni, a description of friendship. All right, so there was a number of questions about this. And I had received questions about this actually even some time ago. Thank you, Krishna. So I had the opportunity to consult with Banu Maharaj. So here in Sakhya Ras, there's a progression from Rati, which is basic love, to Pranaya, which is equality, a sense of equality. Then to Prema, then to Sneha, and then to Raga, which of course we've defined elsewhere. Now, we notice that Pranaya does not exist in Dasya Ras or in Vatsalya Ras at all. Pranaya is a sense of equality. So Vaniswami was explaining to me that because the essence of Sakhya Bhav is this sense of equality, this stage of Pranaya has to manifest very early, even before Prema. Interesting, isn't it? Now, it also manifests in Madhurya Bhav, but a little later. In Madhurya Bhav, it manifests after Sneha. So there's intensity of love growing in the conjugal ras before there's a sense of equality. And I think that makes sense, even if we think about material romantic love. But in friendship, one of the, there's this feeling of friendship, and then the next stage is a sense of equality. All right, we're going to have examples. Rupa gives examples of each of these. So Rati is that Arjuna is saying, "Oh, Akura, you should tell Mukunda, possessor of the mark of Garuda, when will I be able to embrace you?" So that is, again, Rati is this essential, the definition of the Sthai Bhav itself. Then Pranaya, there's not even a touch of respect, even though there's opportunities to show respect. So in the Vraja friends, this is continuous. And in the city friends, it's not continuous. In the city friends, they may sometimes show respect. They have a sense of equality always, but they sometimes display respect because they're in more formal situations. You're at the Rajasuya Yagya with Krishna and he's your friend, but there it's a formal occasion. You're going to show respect, whereas in the country, they don't have these formal occasions. Okay, and here's an example with city friends, though, that the demigods are praising Krishna's supreme position. And Arjuna is just putting his arm on Krishna's shoulder. And he's got his hair standing in, and he just wipes the dust from Krishna's peacock feather. He's just dealing with Krishna as an equal, even though the demigods are dealing with Krishna as a superior. And then what is prema? When love becomes very fixed and one is convinced it never decreases. And this is complete attachment to the Lord. And an example is given again of city friends of the Pandavas. They had many calamities, such as losing the kingdom, living in the forest, acting as servants at other people's houses, but their friendship for Krishna doubled, right? Even when we saw this kind of example with the servants with Subhadra, right? That her son was killed, but her love for Krishna didn't decrease. And here we find even it's doubling. So sneha is when the prema becomes very thick and the heart melts and one can't tolerate a moment's separation from the Lord. And there's an example in 10:15:18 about the cowherd boys' hearts melting. They would sing the right songs for all different things, like in some Broadway musical or Bollywood drama where people they just know the right song to sing at the right time. So the cowherd boys, they know the right song. We think about Mahaprabhu with his friends, Ramananda Roy, Saurabh Damodar. They would always know what verses to sing in order to bring out the mood of the Lord. And raga, what is raga? With Krishna, sorrow becomes happiness. Without Krishna, happiness becomes sorrow. And one will even give up one's life to please Krishna. All right, an example of raga. When Arjuna saw that Asvatthama was releasing various kinds of arrows to hurt Krishna, he stood in front of Krishna to intercept all of them. At that time, although Arjuna was being harmed by the arrows, he was in so much love for Krishna, he felt them like flowers. So we see He's willing to give up his life for Krishna, and something that would normally be sorrow, he's taking it as great happiness. All right, so as usual, Rupa Goswami, after describing the intensities, he describes meeting and separation. And these are the same terms that we've studied before. Ayoga, which Prabhupada calls subtraction. Yoga, which Prabhupada calls addition. So there's the separation before you've ever met Krishna, separation after you've met him. Perfection is the first meeting. Satisfaction is meeting after. So you've met, you've separated, you meet again. And sthiti is never being separate. Okay, so in separation, looking at these two kinds of separation. The first, utkantikam, longing before ever meeting Krishna. And it's something that this is something that somebody needs to mute. This is something that I've thought about a number of times. How the Pandavas, when they were children, they didn't meet Krishna. And so Arjuna, he knows that Krishna's on the planet. He's going to school. He's practicing the military arts. And he's just feeling this separation. I haven't met Krishna yet. I haven't met Krishna yet. So he's expressing his desire to meet Krishna along with his tears. Then meeting after separation, and separation after meeting. So the cowherd boy is saying, you protected us from the fire of digestion of Agasura, from the poison of Kaliya, and from the forest fire. And so these are all fiery things, but how will you protect us from the fire of separation from you? The heat of separation. The strong heat of separation causes even more intense heat in a cool place. It has multiplied its heat in the waters of the cool Yamuna River, and it is burning your friends who are in separation from you. And some symptoms of this separation after meeting: thinness. When Krishna went to Mathura to liberate Kamsa, the cowherd boys became thin due to their intense sorrow. And sleeplessness, a very poetic description. Seeing the tears in the lotus eyes of Krishna's friend Varutapa, the bees of sleep have given up those lotus eyes out of disgust. So because he's crying all the time, he can't sleep. A vacant mind. So since Krishna left Vrindavan, my fickle mind without support has become so light that it rises and falls like a piece of cotton, spins around constantly, and cannot find a point of concentration. And detachment from separation. So in Krishna's separation, Krishna's friends aren't interested in herding cows. They make millions of attempts to forget about singing and dancing. They do not desire to remain alive. So we have a question in the chat about Uddhava. Uddhava is in Dasi above. So we had extensive descriptions of Uddhava in the Dasi above section. Now Uddhava has some friendship, but when there is a mix of rasas, the devotee is described in terms of the primary relationship that they have. So Uddhava is described in terms of servant. All right, another thing here. Who is Madhu Mangal and Dwarka? What is his name? One thing pointing this out, Vinata, is that the Acharyas described that this expansion of the gopis into queens that's in the Lalita Madhava is not always there, that it happens in some kalpas, and other times it's different personalities. All right. Dullness from separation. The cowherd boys have become just like leafless trees on the tops of hills. They appeared almost naked, being skinny and frail. Sickness from separation, suffering from the heat of the fever of separation. All the cowherd boys have been lying on the bank of the Yamuna with limp limbs for days, and madness. These are, of course, all Vyavachari bhavs. The cowherd boys have forgotten how to conduct themselves. Sometimes they fall on the ground or lie down, laugh, run, or weep. Fainting from separation. Now that Krishna is in Mathura, Gokula has become completely confused, crying and fainting repeatedly. And that means, of course, all the people of Gokula. and a death-like state from separation. Worn out with pain from the waves of the fever of separation, the cowherd boys have fallen down on Govardhan and are breathing only very slightly. So there's a little note on separation that from Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, that these apply to the Lord's pastimes on earth, that in Vraja, they're never separated from Krishna. Of course, it's interesting in Sanatana Goswami's Brihad Bhagavatamrita, he does describe separation and meeting in the spiritual world. Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur goes on to say that one should not say that the unmanifested pastimes are better because there's no separation from Krishna's going to Mathura, because this separation is the highest form of bliss. So it's not that it's something lower. But again, we do have in Brihad Bhagavatamrita descriptions of Krishna going and coming to Mathura. All right, meeting. So there's the meeting after the very first meeting, satisfaction meeting after separation, and eternal association. Yes, in the Astakalila Lila, Krishna is always coming and going from the different personalities. So yes, in the Astakalila Lila, Krishna is sometimes when he's with the parents, sometimes when he's with the cowherd boys, sometimes when he's with the gopis, and times when he's not. So there's times he's with the gopis and not with the cowherd boys, and times he's with the cowherd boys and not with the parents. At the same time, there is not really a past, present, and future. So yeah, it's something that's way above my pay grade. All right, so perfection of the first meeting. So this is the resolution of Utkantikam. The resolution of Utkantikam is Siddhi. So the separation that happens before you've met Krishna is resolved when you meet him for the first time. An example is Arjuna seeing Krishna in the house of the potter in Drupad's town, became motionless like a picture and thus revealed himself as a true friend. So I wonder what the whole story is behind this, of how Arjuna first met Krishna in this manifestation. Satisfaction meeting after separation. So this is a resolution of Viyoga, is Tusti. You've met, you've separated, then you've met again. So another example given of the Pandavas, that Bhima, his eyes brimming with tears, laughed with joy as he embraced Krishna. Arjuna and Nakul and Sahadev also joyfully embraced their dearmost friend, the infallible Lord, and they cried profusely. This is Bhagavatam 10, 71, 27. An example given for the country friends of Tusti, of meeting after separation, is when the friends from Vraja saw Krishna at Kurukshetra during the eclipse, and they embraced him with all their arms. Take out the all. With their arms erupting in goosebumps. All right. So then we have steadily being with Krishna. So the example is that great mystic yogis hardly become eligible to achieve the dust of the lotus feet of Krishna, but Krishna is easily available to the vision of the residents of Vrindavana. All right, a little summary of the sthai bhav of friendship. So in servitude, one feels inferior to Krishna. In parental rasa, one feels superior. And in friendship, one feels completely equal. And Rupa Goswami says, because of this feeling of equality, those devotees who are in Sakhya rasa understand it as the best of all rasas. So the friendships think, the devotees who are friends think, we have the best relationship with Krishna because we have this feeling of equality. And the only other rasa that has this feeling of equality is in the conjugal rasa. And you notice at the end of this chapter in Nectar of Devotion, Srila Prabhupada talks about how the friendship rasa has some similarity to the conjugal rasa. This is the similarity that he's talking about, this sense of equality. And Prabhupada says that these rasas are very difficult to explain, how one can feel totally equal to the Lord. I mean, if we think about that, we are so much opposed to this Mayavad philosophy that one feels I am God, or I'm as good as God. But in the Sakhya bhav, I'm as good as, I'm completely equal with Krishna. They don't see Krishna as superior. Even though they may sometimes, especially in the city, they may sometimes treat him with respect. but they don't have that sense that Krishna is worshipful, that he's just my equal. I punch him and I wrestle with him and I joke with him and, I treat him fully as an equal. Okay, we're going to have a breakout room. So this is 10 minutes. What you find most interesting about this Vaibhav of friendship. So 10 minutes. What do you find most interesting about all these descriptions, really lengthy, in-depth descriptions Rupa Goswami gave of this Vaibhav of friendship? So if we could set breakout rooms for 10 minutes, please. I hope that was enlivening. And we have just a few more minutes. Again, just looking at the whole understanding of Rasa. There's the dominant primary Vaibhav that's affected by secondary Vaibhavs and Vyabhichari bhavs, stimulated by the Vibhav and resulting in Anubhavs and Sattvika bhavs, which can also be explained in these various ways. The emotions of Vyabhichari bhavs plus the Rati produces Sattva, not Sattvagun, which produces Anubhavas and Sattvika bhavas. That the basic connection is acted upon by stimulants and emotions, which then results in voluntary and involuntary expressions and combine to form a taste. I thought of a possible answer to the laziness question. I'd have to look it up, but it's possible that there's, I don't think I went back and looked at the Sanskrit, so there could be more than one Vyabhichari bhav that could possibly be translated as laziness. So there could be a type of laziness that is displayed by the Cowherd Boys and a type that is not. So I'd have to go look at it's very complicated because Bhanu Swami doesn't usually translate the Sanskrit of the Vyabhichari bhavs. It's often one of the most difficult things for me to do in preparing this is deal with the Vyabhichari bhavs. So I tend to lean on David Haberman's translation, where he does translate the Vyabhichari bhavs, but he translates those sometimes differently than how Srila Prabhupada translates them. Prabhupada doesn't always translate all of them. Sometimes he'll just list one or two and say, etc. So it's a question of going back to the Sanskrit. And in both cases of Subala showing laziness and saying that the Cowherd Boys don't have laziness, and is it the same Sanskrit word or a different Sanskrit word? All right, so we have about 9 minutes. Anybody have any general things that they'd like to talk about with Sakhya Ras? Yes, Prabhupada Priya. You can raise your hand or you can put something in the chat, either way.
Just a small question. I'm wondering, like in the chapter 41 of Nectar of Devotion, Prabhupada uses this word vayasyas. Is that just a synonym for sakhas, or is it a category, or you didn't mention that word?
I will have to look that up. Those are the kind of questions that's good to ask me in that giving questions before the class.
I think Vyasasa is for the city friends. The word you
that's a synonym for the city friends. Okay, thank you.
Pura Vyasasa. It's called Puram, which means city.
Pura Vyas. Okay, thank you for and Rukmini says it means same age. Vyasa means same age. Okay, very nice. Good to have some scholars here.
The other meaning of Vya means of the age, same age, Vyasasa, same age, but this is city actually in that category.
So city, so it's sort of both city and of the same age. Excellent. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Sarvagama Prabhu. Mahalakshmi.
Yes, we were discussing about when Arjuna saw that Ashvatthama was releasing arrows against Krishna, how he stood there to protect Krishna, and yet Arjuna, if that would have been Bhima or elders, it wouldn't be more. It shocked me. It kind of shocked me because Arjuna is like equal. And
don't you take care of your friends?
Yes.
Well, there you go. You also take care of your friends. And Arjuna, he was so ecstatic taking care of his friend that he didn't feel any pain. So that's the indicative, right? Okay. You don't feel like that. Sorrow becomes happiness. You're willing to give your life, and what's normally sorrow becomes happiness with Krishna, and what's normally happiness without Krishna becomes sorrow. So that's the example of that. But sure, we might die to protect our friends, not just our children. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, and we had Rukmini's asking about the Cowherd Boy book. That it's available at bookrightspress.com. It's also available on Amazon. So I know of 2 translations of this book, one that's done by Banuswami and one that's done by Dasara Sutta. The only difference I'm aware of is that Dasara Sutta includes the original language of the songs, and Banuswami just gives the translation. So I have some friends who've actually recorded singing some of these songs in the original language. So the Cowherd Boy book is giving the Astakalila Lila from the point of view of the Cowherd Boys. Daiva Singha Prabhu.
Mataji, can you please elaborate upon the Bharat Muni's, that Natya which you were mentioning that in the beginning? Bharat Muni's treatise. I don't know. I know nothing about it.
And can you rephrase that? What do you want to know about Bharat Muni?
I mean, in the beginning, you mentioned in the first class that it is Rupa Goswami's NOD has Bhakti Rasamrita has something in relation to Bharat Muni's some treatise. So
Yes, Bharat Muni has written a treatise on Rasa, and particularly in relationship to drama, how one experiences some taste, some pleasure from theatrical performances and dramas and poetry and storytelling. And he made a very detailed treatise on the science of rasa. And that forms, so there's 2 main things that form the basis for Rupa Goswami's work, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. One is this Shastra written by Bharat Muni, and the other is the instructions that he and his brother received from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I mean, it's interesting that a lot of the instructions from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that are equivalent to what's in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu were given to Sanatana Goswami, not to Rupa. But Rupa is the one who wrote the book. So we have, and I've never been able to figure out why. I've asked a number of people. So we have the 2 sources, Mahaprabhu specifically explaining these things to Rupa and Sanatan, primarily Sanatan, and Bharat Muni's treatise. Bharat Muni's treatise applies to both the spiritual and the material. So it applies to all of our original one.
is this the same Bharat Muni who is mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita also once or twice Kaviraj Goswami quotes him that while explaining the external reasons of appearance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, external and internal reasons of appearance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
I don't know. I don't know. Kamalini.
Just wanted to let you know that I sell books. So I do have this book translated by Dasara Sutta. So if you live in the United States, you can contact me. It's $15. Very wonderful.
Yay, Kamalini. And as I said, Dasara Sutta's translation, he has the songs in their original language. Banuswami just has just the translations of the songs, but Dasara Sutta has them in the original language. So one can also learn the songs. Anybody else? All right. Thank you very much for allowing us to go deeply into meditating on Krishna's friends. And we'll see you, Krishna willing, next week to meditate on the parents. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.